Hey gang, Will here with the world famous Ashland Fly Shop. Long overdue fishing report for the third week or so of July with the roundup of what's happening in the region. We're gonna lay down some truth for you here. We're ready. Are we ready? We're ready. We're ready to go. Take it away. Thank you for joining us, everyone, for the overdue fishing report for July. We're coming to you live or pre-recorded live, sort of, from the only room at the Ashland Fly Shop with no AC. So we're working hard for you today to bring you the latest. So let's hop right in with the Rogue River. It is in a place it is typically in this time of year. Great flows. We got about 1,300 out of the dam, about 1,800 at Dodge. Very common for this time of year, maybe even a little bit low, which is nice. There's about 300 fish to the hatchery. Some are steelhead, so that's relative of some pretty decent and again kind of common numbers for this time of year. It's definitely enough fish in the river to be poking around. We've been looking around in earnest for the last 3 weeks or so with varying degrees of success. Some of us here have got several zeros for their effort. Some of us have hooked a fish or two here and there. So again, very common experience for this time of year. But it is an awesome time of year to fish the Rogue, regardless of the numbers of fish. It's a really great time to be out there. The water's in great shape. We have nice cool flows, all the way down to about the town of Rogue River. Good water temps for the fish. And it's been a pretty cool season so far. So we're just now starting to see some of our warmest temperatures. So it's a wonderful time of year to fish early and fish late. So I would concentrate on that, unless you're really doing some deep nymphing and stuff, and then you can pretty much roll all day. But if you're swinging flies, you really want to concentrate on those early and late hours of the day. That's probably where you're going to find the best chance for success. It can also be fairly quiet out there. I know there's more fishing kind of going on now than we see in some years, just with people getting out and stuff. But it is a nice time to get out and avoid some of the crowds. It can be really nice out there in the water. So we encourage people to get out there and do some fishing. As far as the catching and what we would use and that kind of thing. So I really think nymphing is going to carry the day right now. It does seem like our friends and customers that are out there, nymphing mainly, are finding the majority of the fish, getting a little more activity. I would really concentrate on the stretch between Shady Cove and, like Dodge Bridge. I think that's a pretty good spot for the fish to be now. They might not be as comfortable kind of down below there in the Tuvel and down. Might still be a little warm. not as many fish holding down there. We really enjoy fishing down there, so we've been down there a few times this year and haven't had a lot of success. But that doesn't mean that could change any time. But I do like that section from Shady Cove to Dodge, and Dodge and even down to Tuvel. The flies are all the usual suspects, your red copper johns, your larger ugly bugs, your larger stone flies, as point flies, your red copper johns, your prince nymphs. Those are all great flies to use right now if you're nymphing deep and getting through some of those ledges and slotty runs and stuff. That's a good bet. Swinging flies, we're all about it here at AFS, and we really enjoy fishing Scandi. Now's the time to wake flies. Now's the time to fish dry flies. Now's the time to fish traditionals. I mean, really anything goes right now. You could fish T14, and there's probably a call for that in some of the deeper spots. So that's what we're looking at right now. We really like the Tiny Dancer, the Klamath Skater, those types of flies. Moorish Palm Skater, that's a really wonderful fly. We like the kind of buggy traditionals, the Lady Carolines. Unconditionals are really kind of a cool traditional fly that we like. It's kind of got a few more colors in it and stuff. That's a cool one too. And you can get into the perpetrator, and you can fish your hobos and your bigger flies. So all that stuff's on the table for now. But you know, we're at the beginning, so don't be too surprised if you get out and don't find a fish. You know, it takes a few more weeks for the concentrations to kind of fill up in the upper river. But you know, it's summer steelheading. It's early. It's shirt sleeve weather on the Rogue. It's a wonderful time to be out there, and let's go get them. Let's talk about the Holy Water, that little impoundment between Lost Creek Dam and the hatchery. Really good conditions up there. Again, 1300 CFS coming out of the dam, so really nice water conditions up there. And a couple little birdies have told me lately that the fishing's been really good. And that stands to reason, you know, as we get past the salmon flies, you know, that kind of month after, I think those fish are still pretty charged up and looking to chow down. So we've had good reports of nymph fishing through there, which we don't hear too much. I think nymphing is a little hit or miss, but it sounds like it's been quite good lately. And then swinging streamers is always a good bet up there. Dry fly fishing, probably right at the end of the day, probably some midge fishing going on, but probably not going to see too many hatches. It's pretty warm up there, and the hatches are all going to be pretty put down. But we do see midges, evening midges, late evening midges this time of year. It can be really tough to get those fish on them, but it can be a fun game too. So if you're nymphing, trying like stoneflies, you know, it's your point fly again, golden stones, larger buggy flies, and then your dropper fly could be small mayflies, copper johns, San Juan worms, kind of things like that. Your more trout oriented stuff. It might be even interesting to try some of the new Czech style, you know, tiny little sort of mayfly looking hot spot kind of flies would be interesting to try in there. So there's a whole kind of a run of stuff you can try. But it sounds like it's been pretty darn good at the Holy Water. So that's a good bet for trout right now. Well, we should probably mention the North Umpqua. It is a good time of year to go up there. We definitely talk to people about fishing the North Umpqua, but mostly it's as they're going to the North Umpqua. And we don't talk to too many people who've been to the North Umpqua in a recent time frame. We just don't get a lot of that information. So now would be a good time to go to the North Umpqua, camping at the North Umpqua, and fishing for summer steelhead up there. What you can expect up there as far as fish is just completely out of my control. I have no idea what you can expect up there as far as the fishing. I know that there will be people fishing. I know that they'll be around there. You'll see them fishing. But as far as what you might expect or what could come of your stay there, I cannot really say with any surety. So I hope you have a great time. I hope you maybe share some information with us after you go. But if you don't, I understand. So all the best. Mid-July, Northern California, just going to do kind of a sweeping report for there, but now it's still a good time. We're going to start seeing temps creep up a bit, but still most of the rivers, you know, McCloud, Upper Sacramento, Pitt River, you really can fish most of that. You know, as we get into later in July, into August, you know, the lower end of the Upper Sacramento is going to be tough. It's going to warm up. The McCloud, you know, it all just starts to get a little bit stale, you know, and you just got to really nymph with really small stuff or try some different streamer tactics, or you got to kind of get out of the box a bit, which mostly means nymph fishing and finding those good water temps and concentrating in the mornings and the evenings. But we have seen some really good fishing and got some really good feedback from folks. Sounds like Fall River, Spring Creek over in, you know, kind of to the east of Mount Shasta, southeast a bit, has having another good year. It seems really, really solid and nice over there. Pitt River, I've had some great feedback from the Pitt River this year. And McCloud I haven't heard too much about in the last couple weeks, but definitely people are down there. It's a little bit like the North Umpqua, the McCloud, you know, you you don't seem to get a ton of feedback about it, but you know there's lots of folks fishing there. But it tends to be pretty good this time of year, so it's worth a trip. Upper Sacramento, we've had some good feedback on the Upper Sac. You know, it's one of our favorite spots. But again, I would probably start focusing from that Sims area upstream. You know, you're going to start to see some of the warmer water temps. All these waters are great for kind of these newer techniques, the newer Euro style. It's really, really a good bet through the summer months. Hat Creek, Pitt, McLeod, Upper Sac, really, really good tactics for that fishing. Type of flies you want to fish in there this time of year, point flies would be golden stones, any kind of furry, dirty bird, hare's ear type of fly, a little more buggy probably, and then your bottom fly being something small and black. Some of the new Euro style nymphs are going to be perfect for that, little perdigons, things like that. But we also like little prince nymphs, little dark lords. That stuff's all going to work really well for you. Small mayfly nymphs, things like that can work really good. So, you don't have to get too out of the box for you know, for fly selections, but just really want to make sure they're the right size, right color, buggy shape, and that should find fish for you throughout the Northern California area. So, hope you get down there. A lot of good fishing to do down there. We'll talk a little bit about the Klamath Basin and the Williamson River, which we really have heard the most about. So this time of year, we're getting into kind of the peak time of year for the Williamson. We have had kind of a coolish spring, and now we're into our warm weather. So now is when we really expect to start seeing, you know, fish really moving out of the lake in earnest. The fishing's been good the last several weeks. It's been a little hit or miss, but it's consistently been good up there. But now we should start seeing, you know, more fish kind of coming out of the lake and stuff. So it's been busy. It's been a busy year out there from our feedback, you know, mainly because that section from Chiloquin down to the 97 bridge is just, you can fish from a boat. It's just such a popular stretch. So if you know some other spots, you have access to other areas, you might try to get out of that stretch just because it's been a fair amount of traffic there, but the fishing has been pretty solid. Stands to reason that there should be some decent fishing in Agency Lake. You know, those fish are kind of getting it together to come into the Williamson and the Wood. So it might be worth cruising around Agency Lake and looking for fish. Rocky Point could get interesting now with fish kind of congregating around the spring heads and stuff like that. If you know that Rocky Point area, it might be a good time to go fish out there. Wood River really haven't heard much about, honestly, so not much to report there. Should be a good time again with fish starting to filter into the lower section. Haven't heard too much. We're going to see some hoppers out there pretty soon. We should see some hoppers. So if you like to go out and fish hoppers on the Wood, that could be pretty interesting in the next 4 weeks or so. But yeah, it's a good time to fish out there. Good time to fish the Williamson. This kind of midsummer fishing can be pretty darn good, so hope you can get out there. That's what we're looking at right now for our region as we sort of wait on different things to come into play. But we're, as you can imagine, super stoked about the first summer steelhead coming in and that early fishing. We really love this time of year, so we'd love to talk to you more about that if you need any feedback. If you're a trout angler and you're getting out there, lots of good stuff to do, lots of good stuff in Central Oregon to do. So yeah, so let's get out and fish. Now's the time. Let's make the best of 2020. Make the best that we can of it. So appreciate you tuning in as always, and we'll follow up with you soon. Thank you.